So Tom Lee has some insane calls. This is him on Twitter, Funstrat. But he's saying that he can see Ethereum reaching $60,000 per token. He can see Bitcoin hitting $1 million per token, and he predicts that stable coins will fund the US government, all on blockchain and crypto rails, and Ethereum will be the major beneficiary, hence running, and even in Tom Lee's prediction, outpacing and flipping Bitcoin as the biggest crypto in the world. Straight from Tom Lee, he says, this is an incredible feat by Saylor and MicroStrategy, showing their Bitcoin treasury vision delivered amazing returns for shareholders. A lot of us know that Michael Saylor has bought billions of dollars. I think he owns like 2.5% of the supply of Bitcoin or somewhere thereabouts. And therefore, based on that financial engineering and treasury, he has been the #1 best performing stock since August 2020. If you're like, where's NVIDIA? They are down here at 72% a year. Strategy are giving you 93% a year thanks to their Bitcoin strategy. You can see MSTR is a granny shot, what is a granny shot? Well, granny shot's an interesting one. I actually had to look this up. It's a basketball term where they realized that if you shot a free throw underarm, so not throwing it like a normal basketball shot, but actually shooting it underarm, it has a 90% chance of going in, where I believe the professionals who are shooting overhand has something like an 80% of chance of going in. But no one wants to do the granny shot because it looks ridiculous. And this is what MicroStrategy is in the crypto financial world. No one wants to become a Bitcoin treasury company because it looks ridiculous, at least to people who don't understand Bitcoin, but it is way more effective than not backing yourself with the most valuable asset in the world. Crypto Goose says Tom Lee, which is the guy we're talking about in this video, is to Ethereum as what Michael Saylor is to Bitcoin. So he basically is backing his company with Ethereum, and not small amounts of Ethereum, a lot of them. He owns a company called BitMine, BMNR, if you've ever seen that ticker symbol, and is now the #2 treasury in the entire world. I believe it's #2 crypto treasury in the entire world. I think a lot of people are sitting on all sorts of different treasuries. But in terms of crypto, it is sitting behind, of course, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, and has $8.9 billion already sitting there, which is pretty fascinating. And just so you know a little bit of history here before we go into his predictions and how he thinks this is going to take place, he actually recently took over BitMine in June 2025. And BitMine is a company that abandoned Bitcoin mining to reinvent itself as an Ethereum treasury company. The mandate: acquire up to 5% of all Ethereum in supply and stake it for yield, as Ethereum is proof of stake, where Bitcoin is not. So Michael Saylor actually doesn't get that yield, but more on that in just a second. BitMine says, for those wondering, BitMine is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, American. BitMine is able to issue new shares via its existing shelf registration without shareholder approval. So this is what the MicroStrategy infinite money glitch is. They literally acquire Ethereum, Ethereum goes up, therefore the value of their company goes up, then they reissue new shares based on the new value of their company, buy more Ethereum, and it's this self-fulfilling prophecy like Michael Saylor had, where they literally are the #1 top performing company over the last 4 years by doing this new treasury reserve asset strategy based on crypto, or at least reliable cryptos like Bitcoin historically. And just recently, I think this is yesterday, BitMine just bought another $65 million worth of ETH. And this is because ETH is apparently a leveraged play on Bitcoin. I'm going to show you exactly why Tom Lee thinks this is, but you can see here Bitcoin goes up 4%, Ethereum's going to go up something like 14%. He thinks it's going to actually outpace the growth of Bitcoin so much that it will eventually flip it. And in fact, these stats aren't based on nothing. Just 10 days ago, Ethereum made history to become the fastest ever asset to reach a $500 billion market cap. So its growth is historic and unprecedented, beating every major company and Bitcoin. It only took 5.8 years to hit $500 billion valuation, where it took Bitcoin 12 years. So it is already outpacing it. And you can see there are some oil and gas companies that are doing really well there, and even Facebook and Tesla, which are obviously insane biggest companies in the world now. It still took them over 13 and 17 years. But a lot of people are like, okay, well, why the hell is ETH pulling back right now? Why is it down 4% today? And why is it hit all-time high and bounce back and everyone's getting scared? Well, the theory is that retail is getting scared and whales and institutions are the ones who are buying. You can see this here. Retail is in the orange. They're the ones selling ETH right now, and this is what Alex Becker and everyone's been saying for so long, when ETH was at $1,600 or $2,200, the smart money was buying and the smart money was putting negative headlines all in through the news so they get lower and lower prices, while retail sells, the money changes hands to the smarter whales and the big institutions, and then they pump the price and change the media headlines. And that is currently what is still happening. And Tom Lee is predicting not just a small breakout, but a massive breakout, because he says the larger the base, the bigger the breakout. And the graph is not here, but he shows how long ETH has been accumulating for, like literally years. And he says this was a pretty big base. The ticker is BMNR. He also talks about why would you buy his stock versus Ethereum. And he basically talks just like MicroStrategy. If you buy 1 unit of Ethereum, you're only going to have 1 unit of Ethereum. If you buy the equivalent of that in BMNR, they are constantly raising more money to buy more and more Ethereum and increase the amount of Ethereum per share that you get. So the percentage of Ethereum that your stock covers will be going up over time. A very smart financial engineering play. And they're luring people in by having massive predictions. SamAltcoin.eth says, Tom Lee's fund strat just dropped this chart. Ethereum did a 54x out of its last base. You can see how long, like I was saying, the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout. You can see this is the last base here before it did a massive 54x. This base is even bigger, and they are projecting a 54x, although that is, I guess, the $60,000 per ETH price prediction. If history rhymes, 54x from here would be a $75,000 ETH. And you can see this is the explanation here. In Wyckoff methodology, they're saying the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout, means that the longer a stock consolidates in a trading range, which is the base, you can see this consolidation range here, the greater the potential energy that is built up, leading to a more powerful and sustained price move breakout once the range is broken. But it's not just going to be breaking out all bases across all assets. There's 3 specific reasons why Tom Lee thinks the breakout is imminent, and the base is going to make sure the breakout is massive. Maybe not 54x, but even a 3 to 4x would be very surprising for a lot of people on ETH. And the first thing is stablecoin demand, because Tom Lee tweets out that stablecoin demand seems exponential on Ethereum. And look how much, or many, stablecoins are literally being minted every single year. This was the peak of the cycle. Obviously, we had that crash into the bear market mid-2023, but we went from 80 billion in stables to 160 billion. It's literally doubled, which this is on-chain money that can be used to buy Ethereum, to buy any other currency. But of course, where is this USDT? Where is USDC hosted? It's hosted on top of the Ethereum chain, giving stablecoin utility of what he thinks is going to be the biggest financial market in the world. Literally tens of trillions of dollars of stablecoins that are coming will all be hosted on top of Ethereum. On top of that, he talks about how AI is not going to use Bitcoin. They're going to be using Ethereum, because Ethereum was originally a fork of Bitcoin, but embedded smart contracts, or basically compute power, into the actual crypto. So you could literally build apps or have it automate things, which is why AI won't be using something like Bitcoin, which doesn't have that smart contract integration. They'll be using something that is faster, something that's more in the realm, and I'll explain this in a second. It's a very interesting concept of the actual dollar. He talks about the separation of gold from the dollar in the 1971, and he thinks the separation of Bitcoin and Ethereum will be the same. I'll tell you just about that in a second, after I show you him replying to Sam Altman, not Sam Altcoin this time, this is the actual Sam Altman, the founder of ChatGPT, talking about he never took the dead internet theory that seriously, but it seems like there are really a lot of LLM-run Twitter accounts now, which there is. I see this in my comments too. The dead internet theory is basically that 95% of the internet is currently made up of just bots and AI and not real people, and you're actually there alone, even though it feels like there's people around you. And Tom Lee says, to me, it seems like Sam Altman is telling us we need proof of human in an increasingly agentic world. P.S. ETH is at the center of that solution. Among others, he thinks Ethereum will be able to prove if people are human or not, which of course it will be able to do. And blockchain is going to be needed, whether it's Ethereum or something else, in order to verify what is real. So you've got stablecoin utility as a financial market. You've got AI utility that is coming. And lastly, they think that Wall Street utility will be the biggest reason that Ethereum will go between $15,000 to $60,000 per token and potentially flip Bitcoin. Listen to this. It's actually a very fascinating thesis. They say that the Ethereum 1971 moment has happened where Wall Street are building on blockchain. So if we scroll into this, I'm going to show you exactly what that means. In 1971, US dollar formally left the gold standard. Of course, Richard Nixon, his famous address, where they depegged the dollar from the gold standard and, of course, made massive inflation over the next 40 years. And it's been really bad for everybody except for Wall Street. Gold benefited, but the biggest story was the innovation around the synthetic dollar. Wall Street was the real winner, and he's saying gold is going to be Bitcoin, where gold is going to benefit, obviously, and Bitcoin is going to benefit from the depegging, but the synthetic dollar, or the equivalent in today's world, which is going to be Ethereum, is actually going to be the real winner. He says, Wall Street created new markets for the synthetic US dollar. The synthetic US dollar just means it's no longer backed by Bitcoin. In the following 15 years, Wall Street created massive innovation. This allowed US dollar to become the dominant currency versus others. The investors on Wall Street equities outperformed gold. And you can see here are the innovations. They got money market funds, currency futures, debit cards, mortgage-backed securities, currency swaps, interest rate swaps, S&P 500 index futures, zero coupon bonds, CDOs, and exchange traded funds. That's only to 1989. And of course, there's been a lot of innovation because the dollar no longer needs to be backed by gold. Today, 7 of the top 30 largest companies in the world are financial institutions, and he shows this is only possible because it's not a gold-backed dollar anymore. This 1971 moment is happening right now, but not for the dollar, for Ethereum. We see July chairman's message for discussion. Wall Street is tokenizing more than just US dollars, and agentic AI is creating the need for token model / public change, which I was talking to you about. Similar to 1971, there is a case for buying the digital gold, which is the Bitcoin, the store of value. But like 1971, the emerging opportunity in 2025 is the platform that is supporting synthetic or digital assets, which this in 2025 is Ethereum. You can see here is the split. This is the gold, the digital store of value. And on this side of the split is the creation market for digital assets, which is Ethereum, which unlike the US dollar, which you could technically invest in, but it's going to be crazy inflated, you can actually invest in Ethereum, which at the moment has a lower inflation rate than Bitcoin. And Wall Street will innovate on the blockchain, tokenizing many real-world assets. And we expect many other intangibles to get monetized, from royalties to IP to agentic instruction. All of this on a layer 1 reliable, censorship-resistant blockchain called Ethereum. And the ETH price will reflect this, making a new to all-time high last week. Notice the 5-year base of price, like we were saying, the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout. As Wyckoff famously says, the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout, due to the spooled up energy. Last base breakout in 2020 saw $90 to 5,000, or a 54x gain. He's also talking about the ETH to Bitcoin ratio and how it's far under its average of 0.087. It's currently sitting at 0.04, which means we've got a 2x to get back to average, and he believes it's going to be well beyond that because of the 3 use cases that we are talking about. And here he's got his projections on how much Ethereum will be worth based on its ratio to Bitcoin, because he was originally a Bitcoin guy and it still is a strong Bitcoin advocate, and he thinks Bitcoin's going to do really well, and ETH will be riding that tailwind. Even if it just stays the same, it will go to $12,000 in ETH. If it doubles back to its average, it'll go to $21,000 in ETH, and if it gets up to 0.25, it'll go to that $62,000 per ETH. And he rounds it out by saying that MicroStrategy was the best performing large cap stock since Saylor pivoted strategy to be backed through Bitcoin, and he believes that Bitmine is next. And in fact, Altcoin Gordon says ETH is a $15,000 US token trading at 4,400. Do what you want with this information.